Welcome back to ta-da 3D printing. So I've had the Cheaty printer for almost a month now. This is the X3. We went through and found some fun single color prints to run on this printer. This one is a Jeep by Fix'em Dude, and this is the QidiSlicer view. Everything we're going to be printing at just 100% scale. This is a single item print in place that includes the wheels and everything all together in one piece. At 0.2 layer height, we're looking at about an hour 42 minutes. And these are the speeds. This is something that it recommends printing with the door open and the lid open for this type of filament. And it goes pretty quick. It makes it a little bit easier to record a time lapse with the door open like this. This print turned out great. We didn't even have to remove or kind of break the wheels away. Everything printed really nice. There are no supports, so the bridging just kind of sagged just a little bit, but the wheels move super easy. I'm really thinking about maybe trying this out in another color or scaling it up. Next, we have the Headbangers by Lobo CNC. We thought this would be a good one to test out stringing and see if there's any issues with small pieces that it prints. This one with the same layer height will take just under an hour to print. Again, this one goes good. We don't have any issues with stringing or bed adhesion. Nothing pops off the bed or anything like that. Okay, so you can see there is zero stringing on this, and it does work. It's not super springy like I was expecting, but everything printed good. You can see a little bit of detail on the faces. I probably should have printed it in a little different color, but the first layer looks good, and I think this turned out nice. Okay, then we got on a roll with other vehicles. This is the Flippy Ladder Fire Truck, and this is by Clock Spring. This one is a little bit more complicated. We're just going to go with the 100% scale, but it is going to be closer to 2.5 hours. And I'm still trying to get used to that weird purge line. It's just such a funny shape to me. We went through and printed a bunch of these in black, mainly because I wasn't super excited about changing out the filament. I do end up doing that after this, and it turns out fine. It's easy enough to do. But I also wanted to test out this black Cheaty filament. But with this one, you can see there is good bed adhesion. It does pop off, and these movable parts printed great. There's two different pieces to this ladder, and then there's a little spot to help kind of hold it in place, and all those things work, and the texture looks really nice on this. I think it turned out good. So again, these print in place tires or wheels that are all one piece work good. There's no sticking or anything like that. It turns out good. It shows quite a bit of detail on this print. I am pretty impressed with that. The little latch that props up the ladder moves maybe a little too easily. It flips around a lot, so it's a little bit hard to get the hang of exactly where the ladder needs to position, but it works out good. The hinges are real smooth, and I really like how this turned out. Even at this size, I think this would make a really cute toy, and it seems like it would be very durable even with the ladder and the different pieces that move. I think it would be a really nice gift. And speaking of gifts, I have an anniversary gift to get together. So I want to go with this quick print self-watering planter. This is a single part self-watering planter, and I want to print it a little bit bigger than I've done before. I scaled it up to about 7 inches in diameter, and with this same 0.2 fine layer height, it's going to print really fast. This is a little under 7.5 hours for this, which is very fast. I switched to the Prusament Galaxy Black because I wanted this planter to have a little bit of the shimmer in it, and it prints good even though my GoPro glitches out and doesn't finish the whole recording. Okay, let's see how it printed. It looks really cool. I don't see any blobs or clogs or skips or anything. Everything looks really smooth. I really don't see layer lines a whole lot either with this shimmer Prusament. And I'm looking for the seam, and I do see it right there. It's kind of tricky to see, but it follows the design, so there's just kind of a zigzag. It looks good. Underneath looks pretty good. There's a little smudge, and inside looks really smooth as well. And I also found this happy anniversary. It's actually a cake or cupcake topper. It's by PYC 3D. I just wanted to print it at regular scale and see how large it was. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to have it face down and have the texture or not, but I decided to just do it how it's laying like this and have the textured side on the back. And this will take right at 30 minutes to print. And I switched the filament again to Overture Silver for this one. I wanted it to have a little bit of shine to it. And I also wanted to see how this was going to print because it is very small areas that attach this together. It is one piece, but it very easily could break. So I was kind of curious how that would turn out, but it looks good. There's a little bit of stringing that I'll have to brush off, but it's very minimal. And everything, nothing warped or peeled from the bed. It printed out really nice. So I put the plant in the planter, and it's looking like this. And now with the happy anniversary, it's complete. I really like how this turned out. It'll be a great gift. So I've had the Cheaty printer for almost a month now. My first impressions were that it was very easy to unbox. It was very easy to set up and get the first prints going. It's probably been the easiest printer I've ever had to get started. I did have a couple comments about setting up the Z offset, that was kind of old school it seemed like, but I mean I really just did that initial setup and I've not had to adjust the Z at all since, and I think that that's awesome because the Z being set correctly is so important to prints. So the fact that I haven't had to adjust that at all, I think is really awesome. My biggest concern about this printer was the fact that the filament was on the back of the printer, and the way I had it just kind of in the middle of a desk, it was not working. It was not something I could have easy access to, but what I ended up doing was scooting it all the way over to this right side of this tabletop, this desktop. And by doing that, I now have easy access to the filament holder on the back. This is a 30-inch deep tabletop, and so there's plenty of room for me to be able to pop the lid off of the filament holder on the back, this dry box. That has completely solved my issue of being able to access this. And then also the USB is here on the top, and it being somewhat on the back of the printer is not an issue at all with having it on this right side of the tabletop. And that was an easier solution than I thought. I really thought that I was going to have to put this on an island or something like that I could access from the back, but this works out fine to just have it all the way on the right of a desktop. So now the main issue that I have is the sound of this printer. It's easier to have this all the way on the right because I can get to the power, and this is one printer that I feel like I don't like having on all the time. If the printer is not actually running, I feel like even in idle mode, it's kind of loud. There's a fan or something running, and I feel like I want to turn it off if it's not actually running. Let me get close to it, make sure you can hear it. That is the noise that it runs all the time, whether it's printing or just sitting idle. And I don't love that because it's just a little too loud for me to be sitting idle, and I don't like having to turn my printers on and off all the time. I feel like I usually try to just leave them on, and that's just a personal preference. So that's probably my biggest complaint, but everything else has been really smooth. I was a little bit nervous about learning a new slicer, that might be very different, that it was going to be really tricky to figure out where everything was, but I'll show later that the slicer is very similar to the one that I'm used to, so that was seamless. But yeah, overall pretty much everything about this has been really easy to use. I love the size of the print bed. This over 10 inches, over 10 and a half inches for this print bed is awesome. There's nothing really out there right now that's quite that big other than the XL. So, and the XL is very difficult to get. So I think that this is a great size printer, and they do have one larger that's a little over 12 inches. So I think that's an even greater option if you need just a little bit bigger size. Okay, so let's look a little bit at the specs from the website. This is the Cheaty Tech X3. Its current price is showing at $6.99. They do have them in stock in the US. So they'll ship within 3 business days and it's free shipping. The speed says it's up to 600 millimeters per second. I think I'm saying that correctly. And the print volume is 280 by 280 by 270. So that ends up being about 11 inches by 11 inches by a little over 10.5 inches tall. It runs Clipper and has an all-metal Core XY structure. It uses hollow steel linear rails for the X-axis. The only maintenance I've seen them request is to grease them up from time to time. Has a new cooling system to reduce the risk of clogs. It comes with 2 different hot ends. One is a regular and another one's a steel hardened. I assume it's 0.4 nozzle, but I have not seen info on that. It's completely temperature controlled chamber and the dry box. With a constant chamber heating, this will help with layer separation and any peeling like that. Also with warping, this will help. It prints really fast. I have printed the Quick Benchy. I want to say mine was right around 17 minutes, which is very fast. There's compensation for it being so fast, which helps. And this should be able to print high performance materials with the dry box and the heated chamber. It does have automatic bed leveling. The build plate is flexible. It has kind of a textured finish and it's easy to remove, of course. You can use it in normal mode or expert mode. They have good customer service. As far as I have needed to talk to them, they've been very quick to respond. And these are the other sizes available. They have one for $1,000, which is the 325 by 325. The current one I'm showing is the 280 by 280. And then they do have a smaller one, which is 175 by 180 for $400. So let me know your thoughts on this printer and what you would like to see me print next on it, how I can test it out a little bit more. Thanks for watching.